Welcome to Women Who Fights podcast. We empower female fighters to take full agency over their training. Our goal is to celebrate and inspire others with the incredible action women and allies are taking to level the playing field. We talk to experts, uncover prejudice, and champion what's driving our progress.
And today we have with us Ffion, the amazing Ffion. Ffion is a BJJ world champion. She has dominated her weight category at competitions and put on amazing performances at invitationals. She's happy to fight anyone and is hugely respectful of her opponents, which is something that we don't see that often. Ffion grew up with judo. She tried MMA before transitioning to BJJ, and she's a great role model for all of the women out there. And we are thrilled to have her here today. So, hello, Ffion. Today we wanted to focus. Perfect. Today we wanted to focus on your recent post on body image. So you posted something, a personal experience of yours. You basically opened your heart in one of your posts, and people related, and you could see that. You could see that through people's comment that they could relate and they found this amazing. Now we really need someone like you talking about body image. You're a very, very successful athlete. Your body is the reason that you're winning world-class medals. You're highly skilled. You have a very, very strong connection with your purpose. Would you say that this is empowering? What would you say about your relationship with your body at this point?
So when I made that post, I was like, on one hand, really happy to see that so many people could relate, because I was like, oh, it's not just me that goes through this. But it actually made me also very sad, because I had no idea. Some of the girls who were commenting, I had no idea that they felt that way. And it just made me so disappointed with how society is, especially with athletes, female athletes, that so many of us could feel that way when we can all do so much. Like a lot of other girls who compete at the highest level, they were messaging me saying, oh, it's so nice to see you talking about it. I've never felt seen, or that I could really relate to anyone about it. And it's just so disappointing, because I look at them and I think they're so beautiful, and not only are they gorgeous to me, but also they're so strong and so good at jiu-jitsu, that I, for some reason, just thought it was just me that felt this way. So it was very strange to sort of see it, even though I was there oh, I hate myself. I didn't realize that so many people sort of suffer the same way. But now it's so strange. I just never see anyone talking about how, okay, I'm working towards self-love and all this sort of thing, but I'm not there yet. I still don't feel that way about my body. I hope I will soon. But I'm still working towards it, and it's going to be a long time. And it's not like I don't hate my body. I just sort of feel kind of conflicted. When I start to feel confident about it, I feel like then I'll have a day where I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh God, the veins on my arm are visible. Is someone going to make a comment about it? So that's it's back and forth all the time. So maybe that's not the right thing to say, but
yeah. Is that from experience, having comments about your physicality of being strong? Is that something you've actually had to deal with?
Yeah, I would go, like I said in this post, I would go on a night out and I'd dress up very feminine, which I would say I love being a woman. I love being feminine. I love makeup and dye my hair really blonde and stuff like that. Not that you have to dye your hair blonde to be feminine, but I just, I love big lashes and things like that are traditionally feminine. And so I would dress up and then I would feel like, oh, I look like a woman in drag. People, will think that I look too masculine or whatever. And it would be confirmed, or in my mind, it would be confirmed when I'd go on a night out and every night out I've been on, which isn't many, I've been challenged to an arm wrestle, which is not really what you want on a night out, especially if you're single and then you're like, oh God, that's not really what I was looking for here. But, either way, it made me so uncomfortable. It just confirmed to me that it was so obvious of my body was different. Whereas I'd be like, oh, maybe I don't actually look masculine, or maybe it's not obvious to people that I'm an athlete. And then someone would go, oh, love, do you want an arm wrestle? And I'd be like, never mind, they can all tell. Or they'd go, are you a swimmer? I'm like, no. No, I'm not a swimmer. What? But yeah, all challenging me to fights as a joke. I don't know if that's meant to be flirting or what, but yeah. So that wouldn't be helpful. But
Probably.
it's weird because one moment I'll be in the gym and I'll be training, whether it's weight training or jiu-jitsu, and I'll see the vascularity on my arms or see my body, and I'll be like, yeah, I look really strong and like muscly, and like I'd feel really empowered by that. And then in a situation where I wanted to sort of display my femininity, I'd feel the complete opposite, where I'm like, God, I wish I was just smaller. And like the only way I can do that is to lose a bit of body fat, but mainly muscle at this point, which like in reality I don't want, because I want to be strong for my sport. So it's very conflicting. Yeah.
Definitely. And what was your relationship with your body when you were younger? So like as a teenager, we've all got like, I think everyone's had hang-ups. Everyone's had like, we're surrounded by so much media. And as a kid, like you've got less resources to draw from, less sort of self-love maybe, because we're all figuring out what's going on. What was your relationship when you were like, I guess hitting puberty, that sort of age where your body is changing?
Yeah, I think that's something that's not really ever talked about, is how women or young girls who will maybe be in sport and then they reach puberty, and then you've got this new body that you have to navigate. I think I saw you share her a lot on your page. It's Dr. Stacey Doctor Lady.
Yep.
Doctor.
We're gonna have her soon.
I started calling her too after seeing her on your page, and I think she talked about this in a few posts, where like women's bodies will completely change at puberty, and then you have to navigate this new body. And like I went from being very thin and sort of tall for my age to and I thought I was going to be this tall, skinny girl and I thrived in sport. And then I didn't grow from 5'3". I stayed 5'3", or everyone else sort of grew, and then I just went out. Or to me, it just seemed like I suddenly gained a ton of weight. And then when I would approach sport again, it was judo at the time. So that was the sport I mainly did when I was young. It just felt like a lot of changes were happening for me. Obviously, my body type was completely different. I went from having abs, like abdominals showing and being very lean, to carrying more body fat than I ever had. And I was I had very large breasts at the time as well, which I was like, oh, what are these? I lost those now, but I did have, I bench pressed them away, but it's good riddance, to be honest. But I was carrying a lot more body fat. I didn't have a good diet or anything. It just like no one was really educating me about what to eat properly. So I was gaining weight quite quickly. And I was suddenly being excluded from sports. Like I was on the rugby team, and then it was like, hey, you can't do this anymore because it's with the boys. And I was like, not really understanding that it wasn't safe for me to be on the team anymore. And then in judo, I would train with the guys, and then the differences started to become where, oh, this guy I used to be able to throw all the time, now he's going for puberty too, and now he's getting stronger and bigger, and he's beating me, and I just didn't feel like it was fair. So it's really hard. And then also things like other girls look completely different to me. I had big hench arms, and everyone in my school would just think it was so strange. It made me stand out. And I've always gained muscle very easily. I've always been the strong one. Like when the teachers would come to the classroom, they'd be like, okay, can you give me 4 boys and Ffion to go carry the tables? The teachers would need help carrying things. So, all right, 4 boys and Ffion. Because she's strong. So I'd be like, And on one hand, I'd take a lot of pride out of that, and then on the other, I'd be sort of embarrassed. So now I look back and I find it funny, and I kind of like it. I'm getting way more comfortable being the strong one, or you know, Ffion with the big arms. I'm starting to really embrace it because of how it makes me stand out in some ways, and also like being strong is a good thing, and I believe that so strongly for other people. But then for myself, I still got those little hang-ups of associating it with being sort of singled out or teased or whatever. I don't know. Sorry, I ranted on there.
No,
No,
that
loved
was
it.
fantastic. I think, yeah. Go, Marina.
No, you go. You want to say something?
No, you go. I was gonna say, like, it's so normal, I think, especially when you're young, though, you really, like, we all desperately want to fit in, or most people I think do. We're all dying to sort of fit into what we think everyone else is sort of going through. But I love the idea that, like, you were like the strong one who they'd call on and be like, Ffion, and just some boys, but we need Ffion because she's like probably stronger than them, so bring them on. So what was your relationship was complicated because as someone who like was an athlete, would you say you were like, I can't remember what level you got to in judo. I know that you were very good and you did it regularly. I don't know if athlete's the right word as a young person. I don't know. But like,
yeah, but
yeah,
not really hard to get on that.
okay, cool. Yeah, you were. But as someone who was an athlete as a young person and going through that process, would you say you had it sounds like there was just a lot of confusion then through that? Was it a positive sort of like, could you find those times of real appreciation for yourself, or was it mostly just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, like there were moments where it would be like a source of pride where I was like, yeah, this makes me different. And I quite like that. Like in school, I kind of wanted to be different in a cool way. No, I didn't want to be different in oh gosh, he's weird, which I was. But I wanted to sort of have something that made me special in whatever that means. But also, there would be things like I had a group of friends when I first went into secondary school, of female friends, which I hadn't had before. My best friend was always a boy when I was younger because I mainly hung out with boys. I just, I don't know, I felt very shy around other girls and self-conscious. Just, having a few like mild bullying in a primary school by female friends. So like it kind of made me very nervous and desperately wanting the approval of other girls. And plus we're always pushed to the narrative that women are bitchy, which in my experience, men tend to be very bitchy too. So we always told girls are bitchy and all this sort of thing. But I don't know, not really any difference in my experience. But I just felt like, I'm not going to be accepted by girls. But then I had this, you get put in this sort of camp where they join a few of the Welsh schools together. And then you mingle and then you go into secondary school together. So I met a group of girls, they became my friend group, and then at weekends they wanted to have sleepovers, and I couldn't go to sleepovers because I had tournaments every weekend or most weekends. So they were like, well, you're never free to hang out with us, so we can't be a friend. And I was like, I don't know, just being petty when you're young. So I was excluded from that friend group because I had to compete and I wanted to compete. But then that became, well, I don't want to do that anymore because now I don't have friends and I'm too shy to make friends with judo. And yeah, so it was things like that would happen, and that would kind of make me want to just quit because it was just another thing that made me different in a way that wasn't cool. So
Yeah.
God. I want to ask something which I had I had it in my head for a long time. So because I was never athletic when I was young, and I have no clue how this works. When you're young, did you ever understand that what I'm putting into my body, all the fuel that goes into my body is going to be my output? And did that help you, eat healthy. What was your nutritional knowledge back then? Because you were young, very young, but you were still in sports.
Yeah, that was a big sort of, I don't want to say journey, that sounds a bit cheesy, but that was a big learning curve for me. Was I would eat whatever, like I'd just go home, probably eat a bowl of cereal after school and before school, just eat whatever my parents would maybe make. And then when quite young, we would make our own food for dinner anyway, so um just sort of pasta and whatever during, like, I didn't think about what I'd eat. And then when I quit judo, I quit at 14-ish, and I gained a lot of weight really quick because I would train every night and I'd eat whatever I wanted, but I didn't really have that much time to eat as much as I did when I quit, because you travel like an hour to the gym, train for an hour and a half or 2 hours, hour back. My mother would drive me around everywhere, which is very great of her. So like I'd have my meal and then that'd be it. I wouldn't be snacking around it, like, so I wouldn't be able to overeat. Like, I wouldn't really have the time. I was very lucky. My parents never, particularly my mother, she was very involved with my judo. She also trained too. So she never gave me a complex about food. She would just send me up to the next weight category, even though other parents would be quite terrible with their children in regards to food. They wouldn't feed them enough so they wouldn't go up over the weight. My mother was like, no, she's going up to the next division. She doesn't need to be cutting weight at this age. So I'm very grateful for that. But when I quit judo, I didn't change my diet. I just kept eating whatever I wanted. And I had all this free time. So I had nothing to do in the evenings. So I would play Sims or World of Warcraft and eat. And the difference from training every night and competing every weekend or almost every weekend to doing absolutely nothing, I gained so much weight. I'm a size 8 now, and I was probably a size 10 when I was younger. I was a little bit bigger. And I went up to a size 14, I think it was. And my boobs were very big, like E cup at one point, at my highest weight. So a lot of weight went there.
Wow.
And like, I'm not saying that size 15 is huge, but the rapid difference in size was pretty shocking. And I didn't notice I was gaining weight until my mother was like, well, you need to do something if you're not going to do judo. Like, you need to eat some, no, not eat, you need to train. Sorry. And then she would encourage me to go to the gym. So I would go with her, and then I would try and eat a bit less, but I didn't really think about what I was eating. And then my first proper relationship, he was very into nutrition. So I learned a lot off him, and like online, and like you start to see things online then as well. So I kind of went the opposite way, where I would go from just eating whatever I want and never thinking about it to I'd have like one meal a day of like chicken and veg. And then like if I ate chocolate or something that day, I'd just eat the chocolate. So it was like not great. Because I was obsessed with losing loads of weight then. So it just, and then because I went back to the judo later on, so I'd quit. Then I went back because I was like, well, I'm good at this, so I'll do, or like, not good, but I'm okay at this. So that's where I find my confidence. So I'll go back to this. I went back at like 17, and I got really obsessed with getting down to the 52 kilo division. So I really wanted to be small. So it was less for, I wasn't thinking about performance at all. I was just like, I'll look so good at 52. My arms will finally be small. So I tried to eat as little as I could, and I reached my goal, and my arms were still big. They were still muscly. I was a lot smaller, but my muscle retained somehow. Not all of it, but I was still hench. And I was like, well, that didn't change. So what's the point in also starving myself? I also had, I think this is something that people don't really talk about. Maybe I'm definitely oversharing now, but I used to wish that I could be bulimic, which is horrific to say. I used to wish I could make myself throw up, which is awful to say, an awful way of thinking. Like, of course I would never want that. But what I would do instead is take laxatives every day to like help me go to the toilet, because I didn't understand how things work. My knowledge was very, very, obviously very small and very, very stupid. I didn't tell anyone about it, but I would, like we all had problems with food in judo. From talking to other people, we would all do such stupid things, and we probably had serious issues with food at the time. Luckily, it didn't escalate past that, and online was where I did find a lot of other people who had struggled, and that helped me focus on becoming strong. And I saw powerlifters and things like that. And then I got into jiu-jitsu where like I wanted to be able to function well, so I had to eat, otherwise I couldn't perform. That was a long-winded.
No, that was great. What how was your performance then at 52?
Terrible. That's what was funny. I did a tournament and I fought a girl who I'd beaten a few times, and I lost to her in the final. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the difference, but I felt awful. I was barely able to get through the day, and my mother was like saying to my coach, "She'll never do that again. She'll never go to that weight division ever again." She was horrified because I was living in Cardiff and I wasn't living with her at the time full time. So she saw me like that, and that was a big turning point. After that, I ended up quitting judo again. But I'm really glad I did, because I found jiu-jitsu and a lot of things changed with that. So
Yeah.
And what about your stage now? So what category are you on? Because
now
you play
I'm
at many, right?
Yeah, so I was doing featherweight for a while, and then the last tournament I did so long ago at Europeans was 64. So I was doing lightweight last time, and I'll probably stay there. I don't really want to cut weight.
You're so strong. We could see that because you fought so many bigger opponents and you destroyed them. So of course technique has a play, but you're also very, very like physically able to do that because you're strong. What do you do different now? What has all this journey taught you?
I think for a while, when I got to black belt in jiu-jitsu, I tried to do featherweight a lot. And at first it was easy to make the weight. It got harder. And then at Europeans, I decided to do lightweight again. So after a year of featherweight, I went back to lightweight. And I had such a good performance. Like, I was calm, I felt strong, I could eat breakfast, and I was able to do the absolute and thrive at it, and actually be able to feel like proud of my performance for once. Which normally I'd be like, oh god, I feel like a bag of poo. Can't wait till the weight cut's over. So it's really just taught me that like performance over anything else, which sounds so obvious, but I really do think a lot of people are masking their desire to have a smaller body or a leaner body or whatever sort of aesthetic they're looking for. They're masking it behind a weight cut that isn't necessary. Like, I wasn't carrying enough body fat to justify going down to featherweight. Like, maybe if I was bigger and I was like, okay, I've been eating pizza every night, I could probably stop doing that, and then I'd make weight. It was like, no, I'm eating well. I'm eating nutritious food. I'm eating enough to make sure I can train hard and be strong in my training. So it's not necessary to go down a weight division. I think part of me was holding on to that desire to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more, I don't know, appealing to someone who, I don't know, but myself probably. And then I was like, well, I'd rather just do good at jiu-jitsu. I'd rather be able to do the absolute and feel really strong. And I've never felt weak. I've never been weak for lightweight. Whereas when I went to featherweight, I did feel weak because I was dehydrated. I ended up having to do hot baths to make the weight, and then I wouldn't be able to perform.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think that kind of promotes such a positive mindset, because your body becomes more of like, it's a tool for your success rather than it being something which you're working maybe against and you're trying to morph into something else. You have to accept your body to an extent, which I think it sounds like have you learned anything else? Are there any other positive outcomes from? It sounds like your relationship to your body is like much healthier. now, and you look amazing. Like you look, well, you've just been away, so you're glowing. But in terms in in terms of your attitude to your body now, like, is there anything that you might say to your younger self, like all those years ago, because you've really been through the mill, like you've had a lot of different experiences growing up with your attitude towards your body? Like, is there something you might say to your younger self about like what you were sort of thinking or doing?
Oh God, I'd have an essay. Yeah, like I wish someone had just taught me from a young age how to eat properly. And it's not my parents' fault. They don't know much about diet still, you know. It just, I feel like in judo that I should have been taught about nutrition and like actually educated. Like so many people would do weight cuts where they would just drink like a can of Coke a day, or like weigh food, depending how light it was in their hand, to make sure they made weight. Like, how ridiculous is that? There was no guidance by anyone, because no one knew what they were doing. So I really just wish that someone had just stepped in and just put the focus on performance. Like, who gives a shit what you look like? Everyone has a different body. There's only so much you can do anyway to change it. Like a lot of it is genetics. Like some people have a harder time gaining weight. Some people have a harder time losing weight. Just look after yourself, because this is where you're going to get all your success from and all your pride from is your performance as an athlete. So look after yourself, and how you look only lasts so long. Like we're all going to look like poo bags in like not that long. Do you mean like just be a good person and eat well and look after yourself, because we're all going to be wrinkly leather bags soon, you know? Like, so who cares? Like, I wish I'd worked more on my character and my health, as opposed to just worrying about what some dumb boy thought of me at 15. I don't know why that was such a concern to me. Or I don't think it was. It's so hard because a lot of it just came from myself, but there was a lot of things like, people in school maybe saying certain things, but I don't talk to any of those people now, and I don't care what they think now. And it just seems like such a wasted time worrying about that. So yeah, I just wish someone had taught me how to eat nourishing food, which sounds dumb, but.
Unfortunately, though, people in school, and I'm saying that looking at my sister's lives now as a third person, I'm like, I can see that they take in so much of all the comments. So a little comment can really change the way you think about yourself, and this is what's really, really dangerous. Now you've had a series of huge successes. People know you across the world, different countries, and there's so many girls and boys who find you as their role model for many, very many reasons. Your performance, your how grounded you are, how honest you are. There's nothing dodgy about you. There's everything is amazing, and
I'm sure there is.
when yeah. So is there any, like, have you realized it? Have you had the time to take it in that my body is admired by, not in a very bad way, in a very good way, is admired by people? Like, women see me and they say, I want those arms, I want those legs, I want to be like Ffion. Do you understand that, or is still not a thing in your head?
I've been so grateful to see the transformation, like what people think is, I don't know, not so much attractive, but like, I remember in school, people would be like, oh, like she's got muscly arms. And it was definitely not something that people would be like, oh, I wish I had your arms. But now I'm in the change room after training, maybe not right now, but usually. And my friend
used to
train used to be like my friend will be like, oh my God, I wish I had your arms. And I'm like, what? Why would you want that? And then she's like, oh, it'd be so great to have your arms. And I'm like, I've just seen that transition happen, and it happens slowly, but now it's something that girls or women, sorry, we're not girls, we're women, we kind of gravitate towards it now, because I think for me, a huge thing was seeing Ronda Rousey being lusted after, like men being like, wow, Ronda Rousey is gorgeous. And I was like, well, her body kind of looks like mine. She's very broad shouldered because she did judo too. And she was actually a heavier weight division than me. So that means that if people find her beautiful, then maybe they could find me beautiful too. And maybe, like, you know, I'm not as ogre-like as I like to think or put in my head. So seeing that transition of people finding, you know, it's everyone's a flavor of the month. Everyone's got a kink for something, haven't they? So, I'm not saying I'm a kink, but there are, you know, there's a head scissor knockouts, an Instagram page. And they love having their head squeezed by strong women. So, not that I'm going to partake in that. Maybe I don't know. I'm not planning on partaking in that. But fair play, you know, like everyone is into something. And in that field, I flourish if I want to join it. I don't. I really don't. But so, like, what's the point in obsessing over this one way to look? Because the fashion's going to change. Dream, like, right now, Kim Kardashian's in. A few years ago, it was people who were like very, very thin and size 0. So, like, one day, big arms are going to come into fashion. So, waiting for that trend. But, like,
and you're going to be ready.
Like, I think focusing on your personality and your character and being a good person overall should be the main concern. I totally understand why, you know, a lot of people can't get over certain things that make them very self-conscious. Like, trust me, I know. But I don't know. I think that for me, that's where I'm going to, rather than be like, I need to learn to love the way I look, I'm going to be like, well, I'm not going to be attached to the way I look because that's not going to last forever. I'm going to focus on learning to love the person I am, which means I have to be a nicer person. Maybe I was rude to someone the other day and I have to work on those things happening less, where I'm proud to be who I am. Does that make sense? Like, maybe that's a bit silly, but
yeah. No, that makes so much sense. I think that's like one of like a really wonderful way to live. You know, it's focusing on like who you are and what your goals are and like your experience of life, like as is in your body, rather than worrying about like what you look like. It sounds so strange because I feel like if you said to someone from like a different planet who like had never, he was just watching it all from the outside, and you said, I'm really, I don't care about who I like, what kind of person I am. I'm just really worried that that person thinks I look weird or out of place. And when you think about it like that, it's like, wow, like that's really like, but that is something that especially young people, and older people, we all definitely have that, you know, have tendencies to do that. Social media is a massive thing. I mean, apparently women get more affected as well by negativity on it more than men, I've heard. I should find the study. But in terms of social media's impact on young people, what do you think it is? And do you think there's anything that like people can do in terms of like, I don't know, like reminding themselves that, you know, because there's this big thing about filters at the moment, isn't there? Where like people are like doing, this is me with a filter on and this is me with a filter off. What do you think the impact is, and what would you think that people can do to help?
oh god, yeah, everything is edited now, isn't it? Like the things you can do, like you can edit videos. You can literally put a filter on a video now. That's what I found out the other day, which is insane, isn't it? Like you can literally edit. You can edit videos now to make you look slimmer. Because I watch lots of YouTube videos of like. There's this guy who does skincare called James Welsh. This is so off topic, but I'm obsessed with skincare. And he was like showing how people edit photos, and he's talking about how it's wrong that people are editing out acne and things like that when they're advertising skin products. And then he was saying that you can even do it on videos now with people's bodies and their face. And you just live in an alternative reality. I don't really know what the solution is because I don't know enough about it, and I don't really know if I like filters, doing it. I think what's going to happen is it's going to flip the other way, where we're all going to crave reality, because we're going to see all these people who look exactly the same, who are perfect. And I think we're all going to start to crave imperfection, because the charade can't last forever. Like, I'm just sick of seeing oh God, yeah, they all look exactly the same. They're very gorgeous, of course, but I'm liking seeing skin texture and normality. And right now, when we can't be in person, like, less than ever, you just see all these fake images online. And I know myself, when I post a photo, I've taken several photos with the best angles, doing my best to make it look good. Like, my boyfriend saying, like, you take a better picture of me, stop putting it under my chin, for God's sake. I'm like, be a better and he's like, please stop making me take photos of you. Like, trying to get the good angles. Like, I wouldn't be editing my body or anything, but like, and I'm like, I look back at the photos and I'm like, you know what, I was all right. Like, there's nothing wrong with that photo. Like, I like that it looks, I'm laughing in it, and I actually have like, that's I quite like that, rather than this perfectly posed photo that I put on Instagram, but I was like, I look fat in this. And then 2 months later, I look back and I was like, God, I was so slim then. I wish I was as slim as I was then. I haven't changed. It's like nothing changed in that time. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of time is wasted being so critical of ourselves and comparing to someone online, where I shouldn't see so many photos of other people like this. Who is this like 1% person who looks like Megan Fox, who I would never meet in real life? I'd never seen Megan Fox wandering the streets. She's like a 1%er. She's like the elite looking bracket of gorgeous. I would never see her wandering around. I wouldn't see her in the pub like on a night out. Like, you wouldn't see people who look like that in real life, because they're like so rare. But then on social media, there's a million of them, because you can just access anyone in the world. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I don't have a solution other than try and spend less time online, or if you do, just unfollow accounts that make you feel miserable. Like, I just unfollow without shame now. Like, if someone's posting stuff that makes me feel negative, I'll just unfollow, and take a day where I just don't go on social media, because you could say something insulting about Megan Fox. I mean, I couldn't find anything insulting to say about Megan Fox, but there's some man on the internet who's saying, "Oh, my nose is too big." Like, you could say anything about anyone to insult anyone. So what is the point? No one's perfect. That was a long rant. But.
Yeah.
Megan Fox is perfect, but
agreed. It's really, really important to filter who you see. Yeah. Like the people that you see on your feed are important. Now, I remember watching one of your videos on YouTube and seeing some comments underneath, and I was like, what on earth are these comments? And I just had this question: has your body, apart from those tragic instances, has ever been sexualized in sport? Have you ever had weird comments in your face or online?
Yes. Just go on any advertising Grapple Club now. Go on any Grapple Club video, and it's gained the traction of a certain kind of man that only lurks on the internet. You don't meet that man in real life, because I don't think they go outside. But there's several comments of just people, just weird stuff. I don't even find it insulting or anything. I just kind of find it funny. But where are these weird comments on like Leandra Lowe's videos then? Like, people just saying, like, why am I teaching a technique when I have false lashes on? I'm like, mate, like, I look like I could fly away with these lashes, okay? So don't kill my vibe. That's my favorite kind of look. So like, why is she teaching me a technique? Get a man to teach it, or something like that was one of the comments. I just find them funny because they are funny. And I feel like the internet is a place where that kind of person can really thrive, because they can say what they want with no repercussions. But I just find, and at this point, I really do find it funny. There was a time where it would really upset me and bother me, but then I just realized that the people who make those comments are never doing anything. And sometimes it's just sexualizing in a way where I'm like, well, that's quite nice, really, isn't it? they're just like, oh, she's, sexy, but there's nothing like creepy or gross, just like she's sexy. And I'm like, thanks, I suppose. I mean, I'd rather not know that you're thinking that when I'm teaching a technique, but it's harmless. They're not like threatening murder or anything. But yeah, it's like you'll get like some like inboxes as well on Instagram. There's a few people with a kink, to be beaten up. So if I ever get really bad of money, here we are.
What they are?
They offer money. There's a man who wants me to beat him up. I said no. Well, I didn't reply, but I decline. Doreen, so like,
What do you mean?
How badly beaten up?
I don't know. I think just choked, mild choking. So,
Joking. And he's like, that's good king.
yeah,
That is a kink. That is,
I'm like,
very
fair enough. If
kinky.
you're into that, fair enough. I don't want to take part. I'm not kink shaming. I think do whatever you want. I don't want to help you with that. Thank you. No amount of money is worth that for me. The embarrassment, but I'm sure there's someone who will. So and carry on. You're into that. So, but yeah. Yeah, the comments.
Just imagining like if I got that. I was imagining if I got that kind of like a message, or like imagining you getting that and just being like, huh, all right, well, I'll keep that, I'll put that away.
I just screenshot them, or like I'll just turn my phone to my boyfriend and be like, look at this, and he'll just go, weird. I'm like, yes. And we just carry on, then just carry on my day.
And the other thing is that as an athlete, as someone with suddenly had a break, I'm just still lost in that moment. As someone who is very strong and athletic, I mean, this is it's quite personal, but like, has it made you feel like not sexy? Like, has it impacted your sex, like how you feel your sexual attraction is to other people? Because I'm sure that other people, like they'll see you very differently to how you think they see you. But yeah, has it impacted you?
Oh yeah, like I don't know, like it would make me feel very good. Like if I even am slightly heavier, like because I would weigh myself a lot, because like I'm in a weight controlled sport, but I don't think it's necessary to weigh myself outside of when it's around competition time, just so I'm like, oh, that's my weight for my division. Cool. I know what division to enter. But like if I'd weigh myself casually, and if I was heavier than normal for whatever reason, like a lot of time it's like just the time of the month, or I'd eaten a bit more the night before, whatever. If I was a bit heavier, I just feel so beastly and fat in my mind that I would just like, that put me off wanting, anything sexual remotely, or like, or would just make me not feel sexy. So, it would really affect my mood that day. Like I'd weigh and I'm 0.5 of a kilo heavier than normal, or even kilo or 2 kilos heavier than what I'd normally be, or what I deem to be acceptable for myself. That would just affect my mood the whole day. I would look in the mirror and be like, oh, I look nice. And then I would weigh, and then I'd be like, oh, no, I'm an ogre. Like it would just do so much to me. Whereas now I don't really feel that way. Like I have managed to create that disconnect. I'm like, my weight is my weight, because I understand more about it now. I understand that my body's going to be heavier for lots of different reasons. Whatever I've eaten the night before, or like even the weight of the meal I ate, or like it's that time of the month and I am heavier, and I'm like, cool, whatever, who cares? Like I thought I looked good anyway, so carry on. Yeah, like, but of course it would affect, like I didn't view myself as sexy for, still don't, but no, I do sometimes. But I didn't ever view myself as remotely sexy, because I'm like, well, I'm masculine looking, so I can't be sexy. Maybe I can be cute during like when I got makeup on. Maybe I can feel like I'm a bit cute, or like maybe even pretty sometimes, but my body is masculine, so like that's how I would feel. Whereas I don't really feel like I look manly, especially now there's more women who are muscular, and I certainly think they look very feminine, very beautiful. It's so weird to me that I can look at them, and I think that's the first step, is that I'll look at someone like Steffi Cohen, the power lifter. Look her up, she's amazing. But she's this world record holding powerlifter who is way more muscly than me, and very like lean and ripped, and I'm like, wow, she is gorgeous. She's put up photos recently of her in like bikinis and stuff, and I'm like, wow, she's so gorgeous, she's so sexy. And then I look at myself and be like, no, I'm not sexy though. No, not me. Like, it's different for me. Like, I'm in a different... Marina, it's so strange how we do that to ourselves, and I think that's my next hurdle, is to like, hey, I can look at these women and if they look amazing, now I have to just sort of apply that to myself eventually. Yeah.
And what we don't understand, what we don't often realize, is that this body, the muscular body, has come through so much work, and not with plastic surgeries. And that's what we need to celebrate, that people go to the gym, they do what they like, and then hence they have this amazing body. Whereas other people choose to go the surgery pathway, and that's something fake. That's not something real. And society needs to do something to just change the image and what gets filtered down to people. Now, we had another question for you. Many athletes, and even in the MMA world, choose to post very, very sexy photos of them, and either to gain more exposure. You know how the pay gap is still there. There's a problem with how much money they make. Is this something that you would do? And what's your opinion?
I think I used to be the girl who'd be like, oh my God, they're posting sexy photos. Like, it's a lot of internalized misogyny that I'm trying to work out. And I'm getting there. Whereas now I'm like, you go, girl, like, get that bread, get that money, dream, like, post whatever the hell you want to. And I think where it came from was I was so judgmental of my own body. And so, I don't know, I wish I had that confidence to post a sexy photo, because I want to feel sexy. And I think a lot of women do, maybe not all, but I think a lot of women want to feel sexy. And I have no problems with people sharing whatever they want to share, and doing whatever they want to their body, whether it's plastic surgery or like starting an OnlyFans, things like that. Like, I think that we've been trodden down, women have been trodden down on so much, and men will get, not just men, but men and women will get so angry at them for, I don't know, using that to their advantage and using their sexuality to their advantage by starting things like an OnlyFans. It's like, oh, it's okay for me to sexualize your Instagram photo, but you can't sexualize yourself in order to make money off it with OnlyFans, because that makes you a slut somehow. I think there's a lot of sort of rage towards women for doing that, whereas I'm like, why shouldn't we be able to do that? Why should we be judged? Why should we be put down as athletes for what? Making money off people sexualizing us, which if you go in any comment section of my videos on YouTube, they're going to sexualize me anyway. So why couldn't I do that? But like, wherever I would do it personally, like, it's everyone's choice. So personally for me, I don't want to share. Maybe this will change, and I think in time, maybe it will. But personally, I don't want to share photos, certain photos. I might change my mind. Where is the line drawn? Well, like, I'm happy to put up a photo of myself in a bikini, but maybe I'm not happy to put up an OnlyFans account and make money off that. I think everyone should do whatever they're comfortable with, and like, if that propels you forward in your career, then why shouldn't you be allowed to do that? Like, men get propelled forward for things too, dreams. So like, I don't know. I think it's such a complex topic, but I think that women should be allowed to do whatever the hell they want with their bodies and not be judged for it. Dream, I'm just so sick of, oh, it's okay for you to wank off to my photo, but I can't make money off it or sound. Do you mean? Sorry, I shouldn't say wank off.
No, it's fine. It's funny. I think that's really astute, because I think we all do have an element, we're living in a patriarchy, so inevitably we absorb those views, and we do put them on other women, and judge women very unfairly. I find it very conflicting because about women sexualizing themselves for financial sort of that side of things, because it makes me sad that that's like it's still a thing. I think that I get a bit sad. But then at the same time, if it is a thing and it is a way to make money, then why the hell not? Like,
yeah, that's what's so hard as well. Is like, that's such a good point. Is why do so many girls feel like they have to make that step because you don't respect us as athletes? Not you, sorry, I'm like accusing. Who am I accusing? But people don't respect you as much as an athlete, or they're like, well, there's less girls. It's like, well, because it's an endless loop. There's less women because it's less acceptable for us to do male-dominated sports or sports in general. So there's this endless loop of we can't build the divisions as highly as we want to, and there's less sort of chances for us to make more money or whatever. So women are feeling like maybe they feel like they're pressured into those situations. Maybe some people just want to get their tits out for the sake of it because they just want their tits out. But some people perhaps wouldn't take those options if it wasn't for the fact that they're not maybe making as much as male athletes. Like maybe the opportunities were there, they wouldn't feel like they had to go down that route. So it's definitely, where do you draw the line of they're doing it because they just want to feel, proud in their sexuality and they have no problems with sharing that? And when is it just the fact that, well, this is how I'm going to propel myself forward in my career? That's really hard to tell. And yeah,
definitely. Yeah. It's sort of like when it becomes the only option.
Yeah.
To move forwards and to, yeah. I was just thinking, I don't know if this is like on topic of female body in the same way, but I'm always interested in this idea. I was talking to someone about women's participation in like martial arts, and like a lot of women won't do it. Like I had a friend once a few years ago who said that she didn't want to do exercise because she thought muscles were ugly, and it kind of put her off from ever getting involved with anything like that. How much do you think like that is actually stopping women from being able to like try out like a martial art like BJJ, like actually just fear of like their body changing with it?
Yeah, like things are shifting where, muscle is becoming more seen as more attractive to some people. Like, sort of, I think it came from like, the bikini competitors in bodybuilding, like that became very popular at one point. Like everyone did a bikini show. So building muscle became more acceptable. But I think like that was just another way to sort of diet and have an excuse to diet for women maybe. And also like you'd still be very small in having that muscle. So you look toned as opposed to too big or whatever. I remember when I started weight training, so many guys I worked in a pub, they'd be like, don't get too big. And so maybe if we advertise jiu-jitsu as a booty building program, we get more girls in. But yeah, I just like, come to jiu-jitsu, it makes your booty really big like Kim K. We get so many girls in. But like, I just wish that we didn't have to market exercise as some sort of way of, this will make your ass fat, like come do jiu-jitsu, dream like, but I partly might be the way of getting them in. But yeah, I just wish it wasn't for women. It's always like surrounded like, well, how will this make me muscle? Will this make me too muscly? Like to anyone who thinks that like doing a bit of jiu-jitsu is going to make you super hench, it really won't. It takes so much work to put on muscle. Dream like I'm only got my current body, which is quite muscly, and probably too much for a lot of people. But I trained since I was 7 years old, very intensely. So like, yeah, it's a lot of years of work to sort of gain that muscle. You lift in judo, you're literally lifting people off the ground. Like that's not light work. You're literally carrying people and who are resisting you and trying to throw them on the floor. But but I just wish that like muscle could be viewed as something that's like, it should be like it is on men. It's like, wow, you work for that. Like, you should be so proud. Whereas with women, it's like, don't get too big. Don't be too big. You might intimidate people or, you know, threaten men who are skinny boys.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, oh, you're gonna be bigger than your boyfriend or something.
Yeah,
And
like,
you're
I
so.
train. I weight train with my bike. Or we did weight train with Corona. I can lift more than him in some things. Like, he has no issue with it. He doesn't care. Like, he's like, well, I don't care. Like, whatever. Like
As he shouldn't.
more than me in certain things too.
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying on this? But like, he's never been bothered with whatever. How if I could lift the same as him or whatever. He's never been bothered by it. He's just like, yeah. And like, guys would tease him and be like, oh, Fion's lifting the same as you, and he was like, yeah. And like, so like, why is that even an issue? Who cares? Do you mean, like, he's never been bothered by that? So I just feel like guys who are, you know, comfortable in their own masculinity, like, I think it just weeds out the people who aren't very secure in themselves. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just thinking of like when I see someone who's like a strong woman, I mean, CrossFit is a really big example of where there's a lot of progression, which is super exciting. But when I see someone like a woman who's like super fit, I'm just like, I just see like power. I feel like they're just powerful beings, like mentally and physically. And I find that so inspiring. And I like, because we were talking to someone the other day about, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Chloe. I was just saying, when you see a woman, you know, like really gorgeous and tanked, you're like, wow. Like, it feels so good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
CrossFit women, love that.
I'm so impressed when I see like what they do. Some of the stuff is just blows my mind.
And it's a very big market. It's a very big market, and it's good because more people are joining, you know, local CrossFit clubs, and therefore this culture of, you know, my body is a my tool, and I'm lifting, and this is what matters, how much you're going to lift. Then you start not caring about anything else, and you celebrate it more. I wanted to go on, because I'm gonna ask something completely different, so go on.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, it just occurred to me something that I've experienced, and it'd be good to hear like your take on it, Ffion, is when I'm obviously Corona's thrown everything out with the, you know, doesn't exist anymore. But when I was doing weights and I was training properly, I felt like the strength of my body fed so much into my mental strength, like, and not just like for competition where you're like, oh, you know, I'm mentally strong. It's like my whole attitude to life became I was much more capable. I felt much more able to deal with difficult situations because I was like, they're so interlinked. Have you had that where like you can really sense that connection of physical strength and sort of physical care for your body to your brain?
Yeah, like it helps us so much, you know, like even just like lifting weights is going to make my jiu-jitsu better, and maybe that'll make me look different, you know, maybe more muscular, whatever, or but it has such a benefit to my jiu-jitsu that now I don't care, you know, if it like I'm focusing so much less on what my aesthetic is, and thinking more about, God, it makes me feel so good when I feel strong, like when I do well in jiu-jitsu, or when I lift more, or whatever it is, like I just feel so good about myself, and like I feel like a stronger person in general. That sounds a bit dumb, but it makes me more confident. I just feel like I can look after myself. During like I feel healthy, and I think that those things are worth a lot more to me when the way I look is so fragile, and so like it could change so easily in like the blink of an eye. Like the way I look could change, you know, like and over time that's going to change. But how I feel in my body, like I have some control over that. Obviously not fully, but to an extent I have control. And yeah, I do like feeling sturdier when I'm rolling with guys. Like when I'm rolling with the guys and I haven't been weight training, maybe I got a bit lax of it because for whatever reason, I feel like more injury prone. Whereas when I'm doing the weight training, I feel like I'm sturdier in my rolls. When I'm heavier as well, that's such an important thing. When I went up to lightweight and I was walking around at a heavier weight, I felt, wow, my training is so much better. I have so much energy in training. I'm doing much better in training, and that's only going to carry through to competition. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know because many of us are demonizing the extra kilos, and they say, "Oh, I'm fitting into the new category now. Shit!" But then you can go back and say, I can be better. I can do better. And training. I mean, you're training crazy amounts, and you're training with mainly men and really high level men. So any extra strength and energy is really needed. I just wanted to ask you something completely different. I've noticed that you have never ever in your career so far and throughout all of your journey in jiu-jitsu, you have never ever been in trash talking, and you're very respectful towards all of your opponents, no matter what. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because we need that to be out. We need you to talk about this. We need to make a statement out of this.
Oh no. I really hate trash talking. I know people are like, well, it brings entertainment or whatever, more views or whatever. I really don't like it, especially like I feel like what doesn't get, maybe it's not cool, okay, but in the women's divisions, I think we're so good, especially with the black belt women. I notice this a lot, is that everyone kind of becomes friends. Maybe if you haven't talked to certain people a lot, then you're not like close friends or anything. Obviously, you're not going to be, you just don't know them. But like I've talked to so many girls like in the bullpen, like my division and outside of my division, who are so kind and just like, wow, your fights were so good, or like vice versa, like we're chatting. And you fight the same girls so often that you do develop, like, even if it's not a full friendship because you don't know them well enough. And obviously before a tournament, you're kind of nervous, so no one's talking that much. But you get this mutual respect where it's like we're all going towards the same goal. Like if we all lived in the same area, we'd probably be like best friends, because like you want the same goal as I have. You like train just like I do, like in the same sport that we all love. I just feel like, why would you be an enemy? Like I get we're trying to win the tournament, but like that's just who's better at jiu-jitsu on that day, like that. What does, like, I can train hard for that. It doesn't mean I have to hate them as a person. Or I've never been disrespectful of someone who's going after the same goal as me. At least not intentionally. Like, I don't know, like I hate that. Like I hate that thing of like, I don't want to perpetuate that sort of bitchiness that people think that there is between women when there's really not. And I think the women's divisions are a really good example of the girls all tend to lift each other up. Like I'll get messages of other girls who are black belt or even other divisions, sort of saying such kind things to me, or like, saying congrats or whatever it is, that I'm like, I really wish that carried through to the heavyweight men's. Perhaps, I don't know, anything wrong with respecting each other there. But I don't know. I'm just not into the trash talking. I helped out with kids' classes before the virus and before the gyms were closed. And I just want to be a good example to them. Obviously, like I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm sure a lot of people. I really, there are comments of people really don't like me, but that's fine, and you're not everyone's cup of tea. And I think if you are everyone's cup of tea, I'm obsessed with
based
tea,
on what?
but I don't know. Some people are like, well, she wearing false lashes. It's like, I don't know. I just like them, or I don't know, like. Maybe I was excited about winning, so they didn't like how excited I was to win, which I understand, like, but I was very happy. I'm just very happy when I win. So I'm like, or like, oh, she's so like goofy or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, sometimes you're not everyone's cup of tea. And I think that I talked about, I was on a flow grappling podcast and I talked about feminism, and there was a lot of people angry that I believed in equality. So how dare I? I think you hate men. I was like, I don't hate men. I don't hate.
How dare you?
But anyway, I'm whatever. Like I'm happy.
That's such a
But like I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. But I don't know. I just I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm happy to not be everyone's cup of tea, but I don't feel like I need to be rude to my competitors, you know? Like I just fight well, and that's exciting.
I feel like, yeah, definitely. I think that the respectful side is very entrenched in a lot of old martial arts. You know, it's like, and I like that sort of, you respect your opponent. You're both putting yourself in a position of like where you are fighting, but you're also not trying to kill each other. You don't really want to hurt them. It's like a huge amount of respect that does have to go into like being kind and caring. And I think that it's a really, really great way to do it, because I think like it's sort of been lost in some other martial, like MMA can get very catty, and it's sort of, but when and it's very sad, and when you see two people who like come in and they have huge respect for each other, it's like this beautiful deep moment of shared love and passion, and I get so much more out of that experience than I do out of like, I mean, Conor McGregor's famous for, that's how he's famous. And he's an amazing MMA athlete, but like that's how we got so big. And it's just, I find it such a shame. You're like, oh, don't like dirty it.
Especially in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think jiu-jitsu is worse in some ways than MMA. Like for me, McGregor, right, there's a lot of flaws there, don't get me wrong. But I feel like when he loses or when he beats someone, he's always respectful afterwards. To me, like, I was going to say, when Gordon Ryan beats someone, he's like, yeah, you're shit. And you're like, oh, like, he's not like, oh, actually, I was just trash talking to, build hype. And then he's very like respectful. No, he's just like, yeah, they're shit. And like, we'll post photos of them getting submitted on the internet, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just find that. And also McGregor's funny and Gordon Ryan's not funny. For God's sake, at least be funny.
Yeah.
At the very least, have a good sense of humor. At least McGregor is like got good Irish crack, like. But Gordon Ryan is just like, sorry, please.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't care.
It carried from boxing first and then MMA, but it has I don't see how it can fit into the jiu-jitsu world and environment, trash talking at all. Just find it very funny.
Like at least in MMA, you're actually hitting each other. You're having an actual fight or as close to a real fight as you can. Jiu-jitsu is amazing. And obviously it's part of MMA as well, but we're just rolling around on the floor, like having a bit of a roll, like bit of fun. No one's getting hurt here unless they decide not to tap in a submission. Do you mean? Like it's like, and then you're just like, ugh, like having these weird, not humorous bitch fests with each other. I just find it so strange. And again, just be funny. At least be funny and make good jokes. I don't know.
Agreed.
I just don't like.
Agreed.
I just you could be rude.
It's leathery, like that vibe where they're just lovely and respectful. Leandro Lowe, everyone loves Leandro Lowe, and Leandro Lowe is like every person's favorite person to watch. Is he out trash talking? No, he's just dancing. He's just like, so like be more like Leandro Lowe. Okay, because no one's got an issue watching him. Do you?
Yeah,
there
definitely.
We go.
I think it's like a really big thing to have respect for your opponents.
Definitely.
Right. Shall we go to the last question, Shanti?
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Yeah.
We haven't warned you, I'm afraid. But so the last question is, Ffion Davies, what are you fighting for? And this could be anything, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing.
What am I fighting for? Oh God. Oh.
On the
World
spot.
domination. It sounds also so corny, but like, I just want to be. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is not a good thing. But I would like to be a positive role model. I'm not saying that I'm. Oh, you should try and be like me. But like, I don't know. I just feel like I would like to. If I like, I'd like to have a gym someday. And I really, really want to like coach kids, like because I was a kid who was coached in a different sport. But I felt like there was a lot of ways that I was let down, some of which we kind of touched on. And like, obviously I had a lot of amazing coaches, but as a child, but like, I would like to be a good coach someday, especially a children's coach, and sort of maybe helping develop some sort of athlete program for kids where they could, have proper support in jiu-jitsu, either here in Ireland or in the UK. That's something that I'd like to be part of. So I would like to get good experience competing. Get all my experience, because ultimately, as much as I want to win lots of tournaments, like my main goal is to be a coach someday. So just gaining experience for that, and hopefully being a positive impact or role model for someone young someday. But yes, trying not to be as much of an asshole first of all. So does that actually answer your question, or was that
Thank you so much. Yeah.
We can't wait to visit your gym, so yeah.
Can't wait for that day. No, that was beautiful. That was very grounded, and that was lovely. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm very kind.
Perfect.